Hello, everyone. Welcome to Actually Let's Talk About It. We are on episode 5 and it is called Grownish Part 2. Okay. It's a university episode and I have a special guest. She is graduating, finished uni. Her name is Gamu. Gamu, how are you?
First of all, thank you for introducing me. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm steady chilling. So tell me, how was you know, uni for you? A summary, and then we unpack bit by bit. How was uni for you now that you have reached the end
Yeah.
of that season?
Um, it was a roller coaster. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like I always joke with my friend and I tell her like I think I lived 9 lives in uni because
Mm-hmm.
every trimester was just something different.
Mm-hmm.
But in summary, I would say at first it was quite wild and like
Mm-hmm.
fun and
Mm-hmm.
just so thrilling. And then over time, I think I grew a lot, like in terms of wisdom, just as a person,
Mm-hmm.
and became more grounded, more down to earth. And yeah, like, you know.
Mm-hmm. And how was like the first transition? Because uni, everybody's always excited about going to university. It's like freedom. You're away from your parents. You get to do whatever you want. Like no one is in your space, but I feel like with that freedom, it comes with a lot of responsibility.
Mm.
So, how was the transition from being a teenager into like a young adult like for you when you were in uni?
It was quite interesting, especially coming from a very sheltered home.
Oh, we know that.
And not only that, but spending all my school years in a girls' school, an only girls' school.
Yeah, you guys suffered. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah, that transition was quite interesting, and it wasn't as difficult as I thought it would be. Mainly because when I went, I kind of already knew some people that were there, like some people
Mhm.
from
Mhm.
Zim. So I was already in comms with them, and
Mhm.
also people that I was in high school with. I'm like, you're in Dubai, like what's going on?
Yeah, yeah.
So the transition wasn't as difficult, but I would
Mhm.
say, like what you said, being responsible, like it took a lot of discipline and a lot
Mhm.
of growing up to manage your finances, to
Mhm.
balance your social life, your mental
Mhm.
health, school,
Mhm.
and just, being an adult without the parents and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like for me that was the most difficult thing, the autonomy of like you are now in charge. You are in charge
Yeah.
now, and it's like you are responsible for making sure that your bills are paid, you've got food in your stomach, you are meeting deadlines, and yeah. But like, what was like the culture shock for you when you got to uni? Because everybody, when they transition from, let's say, a sheltered environment and then they get into an exposed one,
Yeah.
it's like, what the hell? What was
Um,
like so wild for you? I'll tell you what was wild for me, and you can tell me what.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, okay, in Dubai in general, I wouldn't say there's an extreme culture shock in the sense that there are a lot of internationals. Most of the population is foreigners.
Mm-hmm.
So you all feel like you're in the same boat,
Yeah.
regardless of their religion and
Mm.
whatnot. I would say, however, it was quite strict in the sense that, like, oh, we needed a license to buy alcohol. You have to be over 21 to go and have a good time.
Yeah,
Like,
Kupin Umbawa.
yeah, but I think the biggest one for me is just how wild uni is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people are doing the most,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't want to say it takes away your innocence, but yeah, you just see, you could see, this is the real world.
This is the real world.
Yeah, yeah, and you have to really keep yourself in check before you get lost. So,
Yeah, I think like for me, it was learning how to coexist with people who are from completely different backgrounds and have completely different opinions and identities. Because I went to Rhodes, and like Rhodes is a very humanities universities. So it there were a lot of like, hippies, like earthy girls. And
Yeah.
for me, I was like, okay, that's cool. And then my culture shock in university was the queer community, because Zim is very conservative.
Yeah.
So we didn't have that exposure to the queer community and learning how to be politically correct and having difficult conversations with someone from a completely different background or belief system. I remember one of like my first lecture, it was a psychology lecture. And there was a guy who was wearing, a skirt, hair done, nails did, everything,
Yeah.
And they came and sat next to me. And I remember I felt so uncomfortable. Immediately, I was like, boy, right?
Yeah.
But they were so nice. Like, they were like, hi, how are you? My name is so-and-so. What's your name? And I was like, oh,
They're actually good people.
they're good people. Okay, my name is Ayanda. I'm studying psychology 1. This is my first year. Oh, me too. Where are you from? I'm from Zim. Instantly, we start talking, and I did not even process the fact that I'm talking to a transgender. Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, it just, like I said, university kind of puts you in spaces where you learn how to coexist with people who are completely different from you.
Yeah.
And you understand how to coexist, which is in your exposure, one of those you learn how to, you don't have to agree with whatever people are doing, but it's like learning how to coexist with people. And I feel like the other culture shock was just the crazy nightlife. Like,
Yeah.
the party lifestyle in university, I think that's what people think is like really, really like cool about university, but it has its downside. What was like the crazy stuff you witnessed when you would go out and link up with people? And
it really gets to a point.
It gets to a point.
It gets to a point where you have to tell yourself, okay, that's enough. But yeah, like, people are really doing the most. And another culture shock was also like hookup culture as well. I was just like,
That was
whoa.
crazy as well.
Yeah, it was. And for them, it was so normal. Like, one night stand.
Yeah.
Like, and then people continue. Life goes on. You go to the next person. I just found that really disturbing. But at the end of the day, I feel like it shouldn't be normalized. But I think we're at a point where there might not be any going back from that. So
we're screwed.
But yeah, party life, definitely. I partied a lot in first semester. Like, even during the week, we were outside.
Yeah.
And the dangerous thing for me personally was that I was still doing my assignments. I was still getting good grades. So I was like, wow, there's no need for me to slow down. So I just like would party. And yeah, another crazy thing about uni is that like there's no limitation. Like, you can play with people who are in their late 20s, like, it's
40s,
just
honey.
yeah, you can be friends with like a 40-year-old, and it's just like, yeah, that was also a bit strange. Well, not strange, but I had to adjust to that. But yeah, I agree with the whole party lifestyle. Like,
it was
people
wild.
doing the most. And
I think you just have to be disciplined in every regard when you're in university. So even when it comes to the party life, when it comes to, because like we were saying earlier, you have access to everything and there's no one telling you what to do.
Yeah.
So you have to be your own disciplinarian. You have to be the one telling like, oh, I can't step out because I have a submission or I have a lecture, or, oh, like I need to, people are going to 4th location. Let me go home. I remember people would end up, like, let's say would go out, right? People in the club are now looking for flights. Some people would wake up in another city.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, there's certain things, I believe that you need to know why you're there. The purpose is for you to lock in and to get your degree and make sure that you excel at what you do. Like, you're supposed to get your degree. And I've noticed that a lot of people don't finish their degrees in university. A lot of people actually end up dropping out. it's because of these distractions that will be there and the lack of discipline of like knowing why you're there.
Yeah.
And what made you like rein yourself in to be like, okay, yeah, I can go out and I can do all of this, like, but at the end of the day, we're supposed to bag this degree. Yeah.
For me, I think, I don't know, it was kind of like a self-introspection moment, like a switch where I got tired. Like, I was just like, you know what, this is getting boring. Even the people that I would party with, I realized that we're not like on the same level intellectually. Even the conversations that we'd have, it was just so like full of nonsense, and I was like, what am I doing? What am I doing here? Is this really all there is to uni? I think I can do so much better for myself as a person. So I kind of just got tired and slowed down. I stopped going out with certain people and just was minding my own. And yeah, like my life just became quieter, more chilled, less drama. Of course, I think that's another thing. I just wanted less drama because it was always something.
So if you're talking about less drama, so I'm assuming it's about friends, right?
Yeah.
Tell me about what it was like navigating friendship in university, because I think like the friends that you have in uni kind of determine how far you will go, one, or how well you do, or just how you will survive
Yeah.
the transition from high school to university. So tell me how it was like for you making friends, having friends from different countries,
Yeah.
from different backgrounds, how it was like for you, and then also the falling outs that would happen, because in university there's no way the first year friends that you have are not the ones that you have when you graduate. That's the honest
For
truth.
sure. Yeah.
So what was that like for you when you were in that season?
Yeah, so like I mentioned earlier, before I went, I knew like two people. I was already talking to like two people from Zim. So that was my starting point. Then when I got there, I feel like the friends that I made were because of proximity. We were, in the same boat. We were from Zim. We were close to each other. And where I stayed was in the outskirts, away from the city life and everything. So it's a bit depressing, that area. So we were all in our little like world.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's the main reason why I was friends with those people. And also because we would go out together, it became like a groupie, and there was no individual connection amongst us as friends. And then we kind of just drifted. And I think the drama comes with like, over a guy, or just things that
it's
are
always about the guy.
it's just things that aren't
Constructive.
making sense. Yes. So over time, let's say after first semester, first year, we kind of just drifted. And also the falling outs were because things started to feel one-sided. It's like, like I would put the effort to say like, let's do something, even when we come home from like for the break. The
on
semester
holidays,
break.
like vacations.
Yeah, like it's like I would be like, let's do something, let's link up, and it's always like you're the one who's pouring into them, and there's no reciprocation. So I think that's where mainly the falling out happened. And then I'd say second year going to final year, I did meet people that were actually genuine, people that want to see you grow, people that will pray for you, people you can pray with, people you can confide in, and there's no hidden intention and whatnot. So I think that was like the journey regarding friendship for me personally.
So you're saying that the friendships were evolving were changing rather because you were evolving, right?
Yes, 100%.
And
100%.
I feel like university is the place where you find yourself,
Yeah.
or you find your identity independent from what you were taught, your belief systems, your biases. I feel like university challenges the things that your parents taught you, your teachers taught you. Like, you start establishing your own morals, your own core values, independent from influence from other people. So what was it like finding yourself in university? Because I feel like, for me, I'll speak for myself. My mental health was very much like up and down in university because I had to face myself.
Yeah.
I had no external influence to come and tell me, you need to do this, you need to do that, right? There are certain things that I just had to question, like what you were saying, self-introspection, to be like, oh, okay, this church, I grew up, for example, churches, right?
Yeah.
I grew up going to this church. Okay, yeah, like now that church is not there anymore.
Yeah.
It's my responsibility to quote unquote find another church, right? And it's like solely on you to figure out, do I like this? Do I like that? So my question is, what was it like finding yourself in university and establishing an identity independent from what you knew and now just like dealing with self-discovery?
Yeah, I mean, it was a rocky road. I think in first year, I thought I knew who I was. I thought I knew who I was, you know, the party life and all these friends that I had. And I thought that was it. But I don't know, I kind of just realized there was so much more to that. And also, fortunately, I had a mutual friend who introduced me to this church. So I started going to that church. It's a Baptist or evangelical, I'm not sure, but quite different from what was back home, right?
Yeah.
So when I started going there, I really felt myself growing, and I was like, okay, I actually like this. And the community was just so amazing. Like, people were so genuine, so loving, so down to earth. And I think that really helped me look within and say, okay, where am I? Where do I stand? And again, even I think your friends also influence your identity as well. You know that saying that says, show me your friends and I'll show you who you are. So over time, with the friends that I started making, I saw myself, you know, changing and discovering myself more. And yeah, like figuring out, okay, this is what I like. These are my values. This is what I believe in. This is what I don't like. This is what I don't stand for. Things became clearer over time through, you know, a supportive community from church and, you know, things like Bible study, people around the same age, like just seeing the different views from, like, you know, the party life and people that are older than you but they're so immature, and then you know, seeing a different side where you have like people that are down to earth, people that are genuine, they care for you. You know, it's not just, oh, we only look for Gamu when it's time to go out, or
Literally.
yeah. So I think that played a very big role in me discovering who I was and what I liked, and that just made things clearer for me.
So basically you didn't succumb to peer pressure, because I feel like university is very much, people talk about peer pressure in teenagehood. No, teenagers,
it's a life thing.
it's forever, you know? And I feel like it's even like university is a catalyst, because I know of so many people who started first year strong. They started first year strong, they got distinctions and everything, and then they either start living in with a guy, and then they stop showing up for lectures, they are missing out their assignments, or they get so consumed in the party lifestyle and then they start slacking in their academics altogether. Or drugs.
Oh yes,
the drug culture in university is actually insane, and it's like there's so many people that I know that have ended up being addicts, but when they went to university, they were the most sober-minded people I know. And it's because of that identity thing of knowing yourself and knowing what you want and saying like, okay, this is what I stand for. This is what I don't stand for. Because I think like in university, it's a scary place, right? You are alone in a foreign land and you have to come out with a degree, right? And you're in a completely different environment. Like you're trying to make friends. So obviously you're going to people please your way into, into like, oh yeah, I want to have friends. You don't want to be lonely and everything. So I totally get that. But I also feel like for me, university kind of stretches your mental health. I feel like I struggled maybe being away from home. You were further from home. But being away from home, dealing with the change, also, some people do well, when they're in isolation, others don't. So, how did you manage your mental health? Because university does, like I said, trigger a lot of things within you that you have to confront. So I knew, like, for me, I would get into depressive seasons randomly where I'm just like, oh my gosh, like, I'm so depressed. Like, but I'm here, but I'm like under pressure and I'm thinking about so many things. I had a friend who wouldn't, when she would be depressed, she wouldn't go for lectures.
Yeah.
She would just lock herself in her room and never see the light of day. So how did you make sure, obviously you're not going to be 100 every day, but how did you take care of yourself mentally when you were in uni? Because you're just on your own.
Yeah. I think me as a person, I've always sort of had this kind of independence. Like,
oh, we know that.
I don't mind being far away, but I will say at times I did get homesick. At times I just needed, a support system, a familiar support system. But how I kept myself going, I think first things first was having a strong, community, people you can go to and talk, to stuff about. And another thing that kept me going was content creation. I started my YouTube channel in uni. So I really loved that. That really kept me going. No matter what was going on, I just enjoyed, that was like my safe space. I would enjoy the capturing of content, the editing, and, unfortunately, I wasn't as consistent because, again, uni really stretches you.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that really kept me going. And unfortunately for me, my uni was so small. So you know how SA does it with the different, what can I say, societies? Like you guys
clubs and societies.
Yeah, like our clubs were not really inclusive and they weren't, they didn't have kadat, what I mean?
Yeah.
So I literally did no clubs. I think I was chosen to be in charge of dance club.
Oh yeah, I remember that era.
But even that was difficult in the sense that, okay, we requested for like a studio, that didn't work out. Funding, and it's like something that I would have loved to do. I didn't get it, And yeah, I would say also going to the gym, I made sure. I always made sure that really helped me just mentally escape. So I think those would be like the three things
that made you
help me. Yeah,
that made you get through it. Okay,
yeah, through it.
And like you were talking about uni stretching you, right? And a lot of people fail in university and repeat in university. So walk me through how you made sure that you were on top of things, especially regarding assignments, preparation for exams, tests. What would be like the starter pack for someone who is trying to, navigate balancing both their social life and also their academic life when they're in university?
One word: discipline. Join
discipline.
Yeah, you really have to train yourself. I don't know, find a way, train yourself to be disciplined. And yeah, one thing I made sure to have was a routine. I had a planner where I would literally plan my day and write down everything I needed to do, and also kind of reward yourself in the sense that, okay, if I finish my assignment today, I'll go out for a drink later, or when I take my break, I'll watch a movie or I'll watch an episode of my favorite series or something like that. I think discipline is quite essential, and unfortunately in uni there's no one to keep you in check. You have to keep yourself in check, and just planning. Literally plan your life, plan your day, write down your tasks, what you need to do, what's a priority for you and what isn't. Fortunately, the high school that I went to was quite disciplinary.
Yeah.
So
So you didn't
yeah,
struggle.
the home we come from quite disciplinary.
Yep,
So so it wasn't that hard.
Mm-hmm.
But I think also another thing that can help is asking people to keep you accountable. Have a friend who's like, hey, did you do that assignment? Or have you done ABCDFG, just to like help you stay on top of your game. So yeah, that's how I managed to navigate balancing. And definitely there is a need for balance. You can't always be doing books. You
Yeah,
can't.
but no, definitely 100. I think like for me in university, I'm very much an incentive person. So I like rewarding myself after any task because like I find doing tasks is very tedious, especially if there's no reason to celebrate why I did it. So I remember I would make sure, so like my friends and I would go out on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays sometimes. But like I would make sure that by Thursday, even whether the submission is the deadline is Monday or Sunday or whatever, I would make sure that like, okay, on Thursday, any assignment that needs to be submitted, I submit it, so that if I want to pop out and have a bender, because at least you were in a big city, right? I was in Grahamstown. Potholes and donkeys. There's not even a single traffic light. Like, it was just a student town. The only thing that was there was just groove. There was nothing else besides. There was no mall, no movie theater. Like, it was actually a very sheltered / destructive environment to be in. However, I would just incentivize myself and be like, okay, fine. If I really want to enjoy my weekend, let me just finish the things that I need to do, submit, so that it's not at the back of my mind. Number one. Number two, when you said routine is very important, because when you're now out of university and you're a young adult in the big world and you're working a 9 to 5, you will need that routine.
Yeah, definitely.
You will need that structure in your life, whether you like it or not. When you have a boss, you are going to be having to submit reports on time. You're going to have to show up on meetings on time and stuff like that. And I remember we used to have lecturers who would lock you out if you're late. If you're late for a lecture, we used to have very strict lecturers at some point who would lock you out if you're like 5 minutes late. Done. And if you don't show up for, let's say, like 3 lectures, you don't write your exam. I feel like Rhodes was very strict in that regard, especially they would try and at least hold you somewhat accountable. To be like, okay, fine, for you to, let's say, get enough credits, you need to show up for every lecture, or you need to be on time and whatever. Then there's other lecturers who was just chilled, who would do lectures on Zoom and everything. So the discipline thing is very much intrinsic. And another question I have for you was, what was it like when you would come back home and you're a different version, right? Because what parents tend to do when you go to university, they are stuck with a version of you in their head. And then when you come back on vacation, they're expecting that same 18-year-old version of you. So they don't clock that, oh, wait, you're an adult, you're in a foreign land by yourself, doing your own thing. Like, you're now an adult. And even friends or people who knew you, and you come back and they're like, oh my gosh, you've changed. Oh my gosh, you've changed. What was that like for you every time you would come back to the environment that raised you?
Well, firstly, I think you're supposed to change. Like, we need to be more open to that and embrace that more, that people change and it's okay. That's the whole point. And when I would come home, it was a bit hard at first. Like, I don't know, something simple like, oh, wear makeup. And it's like, oh, what's wrong with that? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, since when?
Mm-hmm.
Since when do you like going out? Since when? Like, why are you so outside the house? And it's like, that's what I like. So it was really hard to extend that. It still is, but we're slowly getting there. But I think one thing about it is that you kind of have to just force it. Like, you have to show Kuti, Sha, this is who I am, this is what I like, and there's nothing you can do about it. And like what you said, you're now an adult, you're not a child anymore, and growth is expected. And I think a lot of people feel uncomfortable with change because it gets you out of your comfort zone. They don't like anything that's not familiar, but it's just something that we have to adapt to. And I think naturally as humans, we're able to adapt to things. It's just a matter of choice to say, okay, let me just embrace this person as they are and keep it pushing. So yeah, I mean, it wasn't easy, but was still...
I feel like with parents, when they're struggling to accept you for who you are, you just have to really like rip off the band-aid, because at the end of the day, you are your own person, and at some point you are going to have so much autonomy that they are not going to be involved in a lot of decisions in your life, especially post-grad. After you've graduated, you're now working, you're saving up, you move out, you buy your car. Like, there's going to come a time where they have to just let go. And I think like university just kind of, like I said, forces you to find yourself and establish an identity for yourself independent from where you come from. And there's some people who adapt well. Like you said, you were able to find a constructive community. You were able to be disciplined in school. You were able to let go of toxic friends. Da 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 da. Da. And there are others who come back
and they're amazed. Things got worse.
Things get worse. I know of people who actually avoid going home completely because they are scared to show their families or their parents or whoever who they are now, because they know that it's like really destructive. And it's like, I feel like I keep saying, it's two extremes. Uni can either make you
or break you,
or like completely break you, and you just have to be decisive on what you want, to be like, okay, this is like, I'm here to get this degree and level up, And like, what was it like having adult responsibilities when you were now in uni? Because I was on campus.
Yeah.
You were off campus. What was it like, having to pay rent on time, groceries, cooking, how was that like? Because obviously when you're at home, everything is done for you.
Yeah.
But when you're a young adult now, it's like, when you're in university, now you have to make sure kuti wabadara fees yako on time, pocket money yako, like, it's stretched.
Yeah, it is.
You're not calling home saying I'm broke. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a lot, having to balance everything and mainly like budget your finances, because it's one of those, I've sent you money for 3 months, I'm not sending you more money after that. And you just have to see it through. And unfortunately, like, how in America students can work for like McDonald's and these little waitress jobs. We didn't have that. I didn't have that.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah, it's quite rigid. It's not as easy to just get a little side job, a little extra cash. It's really not that easy. Even with my visa itself, it literally says I'm not allowed to work. So I really had to be careful. And I remember the first few weeks I was there, someone asked me for like 1,000 dirham, which is like $300. And I was like, what's going on?
What do you think this is?
What's going on? And it's important to learn to say no. You know, like
Boundaries.
if you at that moment, you know, your money is a bit tight and, you know, like it's okay to say, guys, I'll join you next time. So it really took a lot of, you know, discipline and also just being firm with myself and saying, okay, you know, I've spent so much on takeout. Let me cook, you know. But again, I'll bring up the routine thing again. So yeah, I would cook for myself. And what I used to do, I had to like meal prep. I found that easier for me because like the kitchen was downstairs, and imagine going downstairs every day with pots and pans and cooking every single day. There's no time for that because you have an assignment, you have to prepare for the next lecture. So I would like meal prep on a Sunday for the whole week, and I know, okay, I'm covered for the week. And then like, you know, do my laundry every weekend, like just having some sort of, you know, like, you know how Sunday is like a reset day for some people where they just do everything, clean, laundry, like all of that. So that's how I would manage, so that during the week I know I'm just going to uni, I'm coming back, I'm resting. I don't have to worry about like chores and stuff like that, you know. So that's how I managed to do it.
It's
And
it's a shame that you guys didn't like have that access to working as a student, because I did work as a student. I was a sub warden, and I would encourage people who, even if you come from money and whatever, it's just good for you to have that exposure to learn how to work for yourself. Because when you work for your money, you're kind of forced to learn how to manage it. So I remember as a subby, I was so excited. I'm like, yeah, oh my gosh, I'm a subby, extra cash, extra pocket money. But then I was like, oh damn, I need to save up for this. Oh, I want to buy a phone. I need to get a new laptop. Like, you kind of give yourself little goals and little milestones, and then you start catering to the lifestyle that you want for yourself, you know. And when you were talking about, because I know people do spend recklessly in university, and people think that, you know, uni is a bubble. Okay, I feel like uni is a bubble. I remember there were some guys who would get loans or borrow money from people so that they could just buy bottles in the club. And no, I'm being serious. And like, you know, it's not within your budget. You know that you can't afford that lifestyle. Don't force it. Because I think like it circles back to the peer pressure thing, where a lot of people end up having imposter syndrome in university without even knowing it. You'll see someone buying Brazilian wigs and whatever, but then their fridge is empty, or like they don't have enough textbooks, but then they're like carrying like a nice designer bag. Like I used to see that a lot, where it was like people were doing things for the Instagram, for the gram, not necessarily being real with themselves and saying, listen, like, I can't afford this. I can't go on this trip, or, you know, because once you end up straining yourself financially, you end up being in these compromising positions where, like in South Africa, it's very popular, where it's like now you're the blesser culture. You're now just desperate. Now you're desperate. And you push yourself in compromising positions, because you are trying to force a lifestyle that you can't afford. And this narrative that people have that university is about lifestyle. University is school.
It's cool.
It's cool. You're going
It's
to
cool.
school. Like it's not about, you haven't arrived. And I think like a lot of people, when they get to uni, it's like, now I want to show people like I can pop out, I can fly out, but like you can't afford that.
And the thing with Dubai is that it's such a luxurious city. So I understand the peer pressure in the sense that, like, you know, when people think of Dubai, they're like, wow, like soft life, you know. So even I went there with like that mentality. Then when I got there, I realized like, no, man, like this is not it. And I really like what you said. I was watching a clip of Madame Joyce's podcast, and she was talking about how like guys will blow money on bottles, but they don't own a house. You know, like they'd rather, you know, that's what I'm saying. Like they'd rather, you know, spend bands on, you know, bottles, on girls, but they don't have a house. And at the end of the day, you expect the woman you're gonna marry to be taken care of. Like, how are you going to lead and provide if that's your way of life,
Yeah,
So,
and if you're not, and I think like the discipline chat, we keep circling back to discipline. If you're not establishing habits that stick in university, when you're now facing the real world, you will struggle. You will actually struggle. I know of so many people who in university, they were the baddies. They were like popping bottles, honey. You would just go on Instagram while we had a 24-hour library, right? And I'm a night owl. I'm a night owl. So I would go to the library, let's say at like 7 p.m. and maybe get out at maybe like 3 a.m.
yeah.
Right? 3 a.m., 2 a.m. And then in between breaks, right? I'll just be scrolling on Instagram, checking, and you're seeing, seeing these girls like they're living large, living life, and I'll be like, oh wow, this is nice. Damn,
Super well.
you're having a bit of FOMO, and then looking back, I graduated, twice. Okay. I graduated twice.
Yeah.
And like these people now as adults, they're like, oh my gosh, if I didn't mess up, they're trying to go back to school. You know what I mean? And it's like time wasted. Had you just known that this is the season for me to lock in,
it won't pass.
It will pass. And I think like a lot of young people like microwave results, and they want to fast track things, and they don't want to go through the process of knowing that, like for me to get to where I want to be, I need to work for it. I don't just arrive there. And I remember these girls who would like prioritize the fast life over understanding that, I'm in university, I'm supposed to gain as much knowledge as possible. Imagine the amount of money wasted.
Yeah.
Money wasted, time wasted. And now, like, when you were 21, you were supposed to be in the library.
Yeah. Grinding,
you understand? But then when you were bunking lectures, saying like, nah, I'm going to catch a flight, we're going to PE just for a couple of drinks. And it's like, I think like all of these things, materialistic things, they're always going to be there. But there's nothing, you can't replace time.
Yeah.
You cannot replace time. And if you waste that time, it's very hard to retrieve it back. It's only now that I'm seeing like there are some people who are like, oh yeah, I'm thinking of going back to school. Oh, I dropped out. And it's like, why would you set yourself up for failure in the first place when the opportunity is there? Because you might never know. This might be the only opportunity for you to be in university. It's literally the only chance you might have to be there. And if you fumble that, like right now, there's zero.
Yeah.
And you can't go to school, or like, let's say your parents can't end up affording it, or you don't get funding. This time around you apply for funding, you can't get a scholarship. So it's like, I think people need to learn how to reverence the opportunities that are presented to them and not take them for granted, because it's so easy to like be distracted.
Yeah.
Just because of clouds, just because of Instagram. You want to be, seen.
Yeah. And like what you're saying, we don't see the full picture of someone's life. They're just gonna show you that part, but you don't know their story. So social media is also another factor. I think we're losing a lot of individuality. There's a lot of group thinking going on. It's like you see something and you're like, yeah, nah, me too, and you kind of lose yourself in the process.
Definitely. So as we wind up, what advice would you have for the youngings that are about to enter this new era of university? And like, what would you, what heads up would you give them?
Like what you said, uni is a scary place.
It's scary. It's scary and fun.
Yeah. But what I will say is, well, degree-wise, explore your passion, things that you actually enjoy, not things that you're forced to do. Also, take your time to find yourself. Like what you said, don't fall into peer pressure. There's certain things that are always going to be there, and there's a time for everything, and that time to lock in is in uni. But also not forgetting to have fun, not forgetting to, let loose a little bit, but not too loose. Yeah, that's the heads up I would give. And also that it's really worth it. Like, you never know
It is.
the opportunities that will come out, like, after you get your degree, even better with distinctions, with awards and certificates. That opens a lot of opportunities for you long term. So yeah, just keeping your eyes on the ball, and yeah, just let God hold your hand through it all. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think university is a necessary part of everyone's life. You can distinguish, even in corporate, the people who went to university and the people who didn't. When you go to university, there's just like, you're forced to have some form of character development and even mental development, and university gives you the exposure necessary for you to go into the real world. It's just like a trailer or just a trial period of what the world could potentially be like. So I encourage parents to take their children to university, and also to just like encourage them to find themselves, because that's the whole point of it, for you to establish yourself as a person outside of home, and so that you're prepared for the real world, right? And this is grad season also. Congratulations to you.
Thank you
for graduating.
Thank you.
With distinctions.
Yes.
Period. And to everyone who's graduated, congratulations to you. We hope that you enjoyed this episode today, and I am really, really happy that people are talking about it.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. But thank you so much for tuning in today, and stay tuned for the next episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. The whole point of this is for you to learn something, and I hope you guys have learned something and have taken a few nuggets with you. And yeah, stay tuned for the next one. This is actually Let's Talk About It. I'm your host, Ayanda. Thank you, Gamu, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
See you next time.
Bye.
Bye.